Now, Jaguar Land Rover will manufacture cars outside the UK for the first time. It's all part of a £1 billion deal with a Chinese firm. Sales of its cars reached 53,000 for the first time in the first 9 months of this year in China, so a huge figure. That's up 80% from the year before. The reason behind the boost is China's demand for luxury goods. Jaguar Land Rover has sold 20,000 Range Rover Evoques this year alone. The firm hopes to boost last year's record £1.5 billion profit when they start producing cars in the country. Should be around 2014. The Sunday Times motoring columnist Mike Rutherford joins us from central London. Morning to you, Mike. I mean, is China proving to be a bit of a lifeline now for JLR?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming at a good time for Jaguar Land Rover. I mean, it's interesting that not so many years ago, the Ford Motor Company of America owned Jaguar Land Rover and several other British marques and couldn't do anything with them. Then we have Tata of India coming in and doing wonders. It's back in profit and the product has never been better. I've just been driving the all-new Range Rover. And initially, they said, before you get into this car, we'd like to tell you what our pitch is with this car. We're marketing it as the best car in the world, to which I laughed because it wasn't at that stage the best car in the world. But having driven it for hundreds of miles across mountain ranges and up rivers and on potholed roads and all the rest of it, it's certainly a contender for the best car of the year or world car of the year. And that's how much the product has improved. Next logical step is to build it to start production overseas.
Yeah, but I guess a lot of people may look at that and say, with the product improved, you know, obviously that's very good PR, it's very good branding for Jaguar Land Rover. Why then tie in with a company like Chery and do some cross-branded products which they're looking at, which may demean the brand, if you like?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, the nature of doing business is that the communist government won't allow a manufacturer like Jaguar Land Rover to simply go in and set up shop. That you can do that in a place like Britain, as Honda and Toyota and others have proved, but you can't do that in China. You've got to have a collaborator, a local collaborator, in this case Chery, and even, as I understand it, the Chinese government gets a slice of the action as well. The other thing, though, that occurs to me that is a huge strength for brands like Aston Martin and Jaguar and Land Rover is their Britishness. The fact that they can put Made in Britain labels on those cars. That's going to change, and I wonder in that sense, I think you're very astute to raise this point. Isn't it a little bit incompatible? We've got arguably the best car in the world in the new Range Rover that maybe one day built in a less than impressive car manufacturing country, because China is good at volume, it's good at getting things done, it's good at throwing up factories and churning out cars and piling them high and selling them cheap. But China doesn't have a reputation until, well, certainly thus far, for high quality product.
No, but it has got a reputation, as you say, for getting things out quickly and getting them out cheaper, which raises the question, are all the JLR plants in the UK, are those workers going to face some sort of threat?
Well, you know, it's China and other countries around the world, because if they can do it in China, why can't, and the success continues, why can't they then go on to South America or the next China? I mean, I'm even asking the question now, where do we go after China? Could it be a country like Indonesia or Vietnam that is becoming a powerhouse in terms of car production? And I've got to say, I'm not trying to worry them, and I don't think they should be worried at this stage, but if I was a Midlands car worker earning a relatively good salary on the world stage, and I knew that instead of the several pounds per hour that I'm getting paid, you know, there are people in other parts of the world that are building cars for pence per hour. And I mean, you know, 30, 40p an hour, arguably, for a Chinese worker in some parts of China. Well, then the threat is obvious. If you can employ workers that cheaply, that must put a question mark over those relatively expensive British jobs.
Mike Rutherford, good to get your views. Thank you. Well, the coalition is locked in a